Today, we're going to talk about SaaS, but in reverse. Service as a software. Software as a service had its peak, but that peak is over. People do not form emotional bonds with software solutions anymore because these solutions feel interchangeable. What businesses today want in the AI era are dynamic systems that move with data, with the execution, with the market. And unfortunately, the old-fashioned way of creating software businesses as a service is over in the AI age. None of these businesses want to manage another system or another infrastructure. What they want is they want a dynamic execution engine that can move with them. That's why the shift is happening right now. We're living in that era. It's not software as a service anymore, it's service as a software. Let me explain. In a world where AI evolves every single week, almost every day, we hear new releases, we hear about new software, new technologies. In an era that moves in such a dynamic fashion, how much value do you think static systems are going to have? What businesses want are dynamic service engines that learn and adapt to the market, to the buyer, to the data in a dynamic fashion. Again, the key word is dynamic, and that moves with all the changes in the marketplace. Companies that are quietly building their own internal proprietary AI flows, technologies, databases are always going to out-execute those companies that supposedly create some kind of software because of the fact that dynamic execution will always beat static functionality. Software as a service is collapsing as a business model right now because AI has vaporized the difficulty barrier to enter into this market. Right now, regardless of you using Lovable or Replit or Cursor with Claude Code, you have the capability to code into existence any functionality or any system that you can dream of, that you can imagine. You can look at an example software, take a screenshot, take a series of screenshots, record yourself of how you would want to write that functionality better, literally go to every single page, every single functionality page, take screenshots and say, I want to take this system and I want to make it better in this manner and give that to Lovable or Cursor. You are going to be able to rewrite that entire system within 24 hours. Yeah, maybe you're going to take another week or another 2 weeks or another month to arrange all the functionalities, the databases, the API integrations, and maybe, yes, you're going to give it to your tech lead or a software company to perfect, but something that would have taken you a year, 2 years to build, you can have it within 30 days now. This is realistic. This is not sci-fi. Basically, you can clone any software and you can make it better within 5 to 7 business days. But you know what you cannot clone? You cannot clone ownership, you cannot clone intellectual property, you cannot clone know-how, and that's where service as a software comes into place. Because let's take my business. Let's say you're in the business of e-commerce marketing or you're in the business of traditional PR, right? You might duplicate a functionality on a specific software, but you can't duplicate the know-how of how to execute these services, what flows you need to go to get approvals for a specific PR release, how you are going to strategize that specific brand message, through which forms, how my internal narrative operating system functions. You don't have all of that information, and even if you did, you don't know which flow is number 1 and which flow is number 95. So you simply do not have the know-how. And that's where the differentiation from software as a service to service as a software is going to move. So you're going to get these companies that don't just sell software. They are going to sell services with the underlying infrastructure of software. And this is the challenge and this is the opportunity, because CEOs and founders, they don't want another tool that is static. They want living systems that adapt to the market and the technology with them. And that's why I keep saying this word, dynamic, dynamic, dynamic. Your entire system needs to be dynamic. And I'll give you an example. SEMrush was sold to Adobe for almost $2 billion a couple of weeks ago. Why do you think that was? SEMrush is a market leader. Why do you think they sold? I think, and it's my prediction, that SEMrush knew that they could not compete in this new market, and they got out. Why did Adobe buy SEMrush? Which is a really good software, by the way. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on that software. I think their intellectual property is the data that they have, the data of the history of all the websites, all the links, all the rankings. You can go back 10 years and see where your website used to rank. I think it's the data that's valuable, but it's very easy to duplicate that because they also have an API. Adobe bought them for the user base because Adobe can sell other things to them. It's e-commerce, it's digital marketing, etc., and it's a very small purchase for Adobe, but that's precisely what we are going to see, in my opinion, in my prediction, for SaaS companies. We are going to see so many SaaS companies up for sale in the next, I would say, 18 to 24 months, and a lot of SaaS companies will exit precisely because of this, because they do understand. And the more complex the SaaS software is, in my opinion, the more difficult it's going to be to exit. They will have more value, but if you have a small micro SaaS solution with like 500, 600,000 users, you won't be able to stay in this market unless you have very, very deep relationships, or unless you seriously integrate and innovate for the age of AI. And that's why you see all of these software companies scrambling to add some sort of AI functionality, and 90% of them suck. The winners in this era will be the service companies whose service continuously adapts to the technological advancements in AI and to how the users buy and make buying decisions. But from my experience, very few companies are ready for this entire change, this era of dynamic execution. Because let's face it, more than 50% of the workspace right now is incompetent when it comes to AI. So where does that leave us? Well, Duran, what is this service as a software? What does that even mean? Just think about it as an invisible operating engine that operates behind whatever execution you have to do to make a workflow possible. Let's take SEO, for example, right? Let's say that you're going to implement a specific article. To implement that article, to rank for an article, to rank for a blog post, you have to do the research, look at all the metrics, you have to make sure that it's the right topic first, then you have to get that topic written maybe as a service page or a blog post or an article or a buying guide. Once you do that, you have to sprinkle it basically with trust building elements, and you have to make sure that you have the right title, the right meta description. You have to make sure the page is indexed, you have to make sure that the page gets backlinks and all of that stuff. So it's an entire system behind it, correct? Well, what if I had the entire workflow to be able to do this within 5 seconds instead of this taking 7 days? That's what AI enables you to do. If I can take a 7-day process and do it within 5 seconds, then where is the value? And if anybody can do that, where's the value? Well, I'll tell you where the value is. The value goes back to the fundamentals of marketing. It's how nuanced you can make that article. It's how you can edit that article. It's how you can add tiny, tiny elements for sales decisions in that article. It's your wisdom that's going to make that article great. It's your workflow of how you go from A to Z that's going to make the difference. So, service-based businesses, in my opinion, that adapt to this model and they create an underlying infrastructure for their service models are going to win. Here's another big prediction. Most SaaS companies, not to go out of business, selling software is not going to be enough anymore. They're either going to start selling execution, not just data and analysis, or they're going to really get into training internal marketing, internal IT teams to really get to the crust of how to execute leveraging the software. Let's take another example. Let's look at Salesforce. Salesforce offers a CRM, and you have a sales team, and you basically you use Salesforce. It integrates to your Clearbit, to your website, WordPress, to your form funnels, and you can track somebody from the moment they got on your website and looked at some service pages all the way to close, right? You can see the sales process, the sales cycle from the first touch to the last touch where they sign an agreement. Well, right now, majority of what Salesforce does is provide the software, bill people for the software on a per user basis, and then that's about it. They don't do anything else. Well, Salesforce will go out of business if they continue to do that. They will not be able to adjust because there are so many competitors that are popping up. They have better CRMs than them. So what is Salesforce going to do? They're going to dig deeper into partnerships. They're going to dig deeper into sales teams. They're going to come up with these experts that are going to come in and train your team for free. Functionality is not going to be enough anymore to keep people on your solution, to keep people on your software. You are going to have to dip into service. You are going to have to dip into training. Instead of selling access to a static tool, you need to build an internal engine that adapts itself as the environment changes. This is the whole promise of service as a software. Your AI will interpret signals. Your workflows are going to operate based on those signals. You get insights instantly, and your service team jumps in regardless of what the task or what the execution is, because it's real time now, it's dynamic, and that's where the value is. Now, AI cannot do everything. When is your team going to step in? When human interaction, when human oversight is needed when it comes to brand-related, reputation-related, regulation, compliance-related issues, the team steps in. This is why we say software as a service. The client will never see any of this. The way that the client sees this is going to be a seamless progress, a seamless cycle that continues and that gets better and more efficient and more efficient. The dynamic nature of this entire execution is what the advantage is. You will have the ability to have this engine that can shift direction on a daily basis if you want it, because the signals are dynamic, the workflows are dynamic, and any kind of human oversight is based on those signals and workflows. And that precisely is what's valuable. That makes your service feel alive, not linear. Because of the fact that all of this is internal, your competitors will have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. They will not be able to instantly copy, because you're not just giving all the functionality and everything there is for $100 a month to be showcased on a system. People will have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to buy the service from you and the underlying technology, which is the software. Service as a software. They can't copy your workflows. They can't copy your models, your learning algorithms. They cannot copy your decision logic. This creates the first real moat that we have seen in years. An invisible execution that evolves faster than anybody's ability to replicate it. It's my prediction that in the next few years, the idea of a pure service company or a pure software company is going to disappear. Every successful operator is going to have a hybrid model. Human expertise on the surface and AI infrastructure underneath that service that makes sure that the entire execution and the data and the signals are dynamic. Static businesses will die because AI by nature is a dynamic execution. Companies that rely only on tools will get commoditized. The winners will be those organizations that treat execution like a live dynamic system that constantly evolve. They will use AI to orchestrate work, to determine the models that actually are sufficient and profitable, detect opportunities, predict bottlenecks. This hybrid model will move faster, be more efficient, cost less, and as a whole, take us to the next level faster from a business profitability efficiency standpoint. Service as a software will be more successful because it's going to combine two elements: human thinking and AI-driven adaptability. The companies that embrace this hybrid intelligence are going to win in the near future because the technological advancements are going to move at such a high velocity that any human being or any tool will not be able to catch up. This is the next era. Businesses that operate like a living, evolving system not static providers.